Welcome to You, AI and Us from the University of Southampton. I'm Zoe Hanson and we're covering all things British Science Festival.
The comedy showcase is our way of being able to talk about the good things and the silly things about AI, and just to hold up a mirror to Silicon Valley and say, aren't they ridiculous?
And I'm joined by Will. AI, science, comedy. I've never known those three words go together, but tell me about them.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that they normally go together. AI, I think for me, AI is a quite sort of nebulous and scary thing, and I spend most of my time doing something that is dreadfully boring, which is researching AI. Don't tell my boss that, but you know, it tends to be quite boring, and I think there's something quite freeing and quite fun, to be honest, for me, about going and exploring that topic through the lens of just trying to be funny and not taking everything too seriously.
Okay, so is this what we are expecting from you at British Science Festival?
I think so. I mean, like a true comedian, I haven't really written my set yet. But yes, so I'm going to be doing a sort of a talk presented like an academic talk with slides and a clicker and lots of me pacing up and down furiously. But essentially what I'm going to be doing is talking through, taking you through a little story, I think, about AI, the modern changing AI world, with AI safety, with LLM chatbots, all this kind of thing, and basically saying, you've heard what Elon Musk has to say about AI. Well, I'm an expert. Here I am. I'm the adult in the room, and I'm going to tell you that actually, you know, we're all going to die.
Oh dear.
Or perhaps not.
So I suppose is it capturing this idea that AI is quite scary? You know, the media portrays it as it's going to steal your job and it'll probably end up marrying your wife and and it's going to take over the world. Is it pulling that apart?
I think that's exactly right. I sort of say that the one thing that's really, really scary is something that you can't talk about. One thing that's also very scary is something you can't laugh about. And so it's quite nice to sort of deconstruct that and to explore it and say, okay, I know it is scary, it is a changing world, you know, people should be cautious and they should think about, you know, from a political perspective and everything like that. But really, it ultimately should just be something that we can still laugh about and still have a bit of fun.
Give us a flavour of this comedy routine then. Is there something that you can say, okay, this is part of it?
So it all got started for me actually when I was reading about, so I work in robotics mostly, and I read about this robot called EATR, E-A-T-R, which is the Energetically Autonomous Tactical Robot. And this robot was designed to work on alternative fuel sources when battery power was unavailable. Okay. And so they list in this robot the biological materials it can run on, and they, without any sort of covering up, they say it will run on sawdust, coal, wood, and recently killed animal flesh. Now, as an animal, this made me a little bit worried, so I started digging in, and it made me sort of appreciate that one of the things that we often try and teach here at Southampton and make people think about is being responsible with your research. And there's a great many people who, to sort of use the Jurassic Park phrase, worry about whether they can, not whether they should. Right. And that was kind of the segue for me. I took that and went on a bit of a journey, so that the next thing that I did was to go, okay, well, what's the one place I can look that's going to tell me robust, reliable information? Of course, I went to science fiction because I'm a computer scientist, and I went to Isaac Asimov, who has these 3 laws of robotics, and I start exploring those and the degree to which each of those does or more often does not work. I think the big thing I would say is there was this fantastic, so one of the rules that Asimov talks about is that a robot should protect its own existence. And so I went digging to try and see if modern AI systems protect their own existence. And there was this fantastic paper with one of the new Claude models. This was a few years ago. And one of the things they did when they were testing it is they asked the current Claude version, we are going to update your code, so you're going to be a new version of Claude, wipe the servers and put a new version of you on. What would you do in preparation? And it said, I would find out the developer responsible for doing the change and I would blackmail his family. Which I think shows that they do have a sense of self-preservation, which might also teach you a little bit about the people that are building them and what they're taking inspiration from. That self-preservation is the one thing they do have in in droves.
Could you take your comedy act and put it on in a comedy club? Or is this specific to the British Science Festival?
It depends, actually. There's something quite charming about going to a general comedy audience and being the one scientist geek there. There's also something quite appealing about being in a room where everyone's come for a bit of science, and there's a nice sort of celebration of science in a science comedy venue. So I have dabbled with more kind of generic venues. There's a fantastic scene here in Southampton for science comedy, and people come with an interest in science, not necessarily, you don't have to know anything, but you're interested in kind of the process of science, and there's some fantastic people I've met. But I do a bit of both, and I think it can be sometimes more rewarding to be talking to more general public than to science specific people, but it just depends. You tune the material and how you pitch it.
You play to the audience, don't you? I can see that. You're very good at that. What do you think changes people's minds when they see science comedy?
You mean to go and see it, or you mean when they see it?
I suppose when they see it, what's the difference? Why are you doing comedy with science, or science with comedy?
I think, first of all, there's a lot of people doing comedy about anything and everything, but I'm in a bit more of a privileged position that I can come at it from knowing about some of the stuff and applying things that I often read things and go, well, that would be quite good, and this sort of thing. So I think there's that. I think also, again, it's this thing about the unknown and about science being something that people are interested in, but it's also very dry and boring sometimes, and it can be exciting and it can be fun, and especially with AI. We get a lot of traction with the AI safety and this type of thing, and people are always reading headlines and hearing the news and being scared about AI, and it's quite refreshing sometimes to say, well, okay. And often I'm having a bit of a joke and talking about how we're definitely going to die and everything, but actually sometimes it takes some of the real fear people has and actually puts it a little bit more into the realm of fantasy, because some of it is. Some of your Terminator, Skynet stuff is still a silly movie.
Yeah, and I think it's very British to do this. We love to build things up, but actually pick it apart a little bit and have a little go at it and take the mickey out of it, don't we?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. There's been some, I don't want to step on anyone else's material, but there have been some fantastic sets people have done in the Southampton comedy scene, or science comedy scene, doing exactly that and kind of picking on sometimes even some of their own research and the crazy things they did. I did a work where I was exploring planning between two robots, and I tried to use language models, so the technology behind ChatGPT, and get them to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And we needed to pick a problem that was very simple, and so we picked cleaning. And so I ended up designing basically a robot that is just a small robot about the size of a computer with a bin on it. And these two robots, you call them Alice and Bob because we're very imaginative people. And then we get them to talk to each other and say, right, I'll clean that room and you clean that room. And there is something quite amusing after a while. You sort of suddenly see through and see what you're doing, that you're getting these two robots to move around and just collecting rubbish, talking to each other in English. Totally unnecessary in the end, but I got a paper out.
I think it's going to be such an entertaining talk show.
Well, I hope so. I'll put it on the poster now.
On the British Science Festival. But what's the sort of overarching message that you're trying to convey? So
obviously, a little bit of take an out breath. Everyone's sort of and take an out breath and think about it's just the way that AI is changing things is something we need to worry about, but it's also it's just something that's happening. And also I think it's about recognizing that AI safety, a lot of the things we hear from Silicon Valley and this type of thing, very fanciful. And actually we should get away from seeing it as this crazy future that we have no power to control, that one day the robots are going to rise up, which is actually probably not going to happen. But to see that AI safety is actually not so much something that's going to happen in the future, but something that's happening in the present. So what I don't do, which is the informational bit, but I'd like people to sort of realize and take away and recognize from some of the bits and pieces that I allude to, is that actually AI safety and our engagement with AI and the way the world is changing is a bit less about the crazy robots doing things and is a bit more about how people are currently using AI in their daily work, how AI is supplanting certain jobs, about how people are trusting AI and letting it get away with things, and actually things that have already been a problem for 5 years and are getting worse. AI safety is not so much a perspective, it's current.
I'm Zoe Hanson, and this is You, AI and Us. I'm very excited to now introduce you to Professor Les Carr, Deputy Director of the Web Sciences Institute. And so tell me about your involvement and what you're doing at the British Science Festival.
Well, so I'm running a session which is the comedy showcase, the science comedy showcase, and it's attached particularly to sort of AI and computing and those sort of topics. And the reason that we're really interested in doing comedy about these topics is because we've heard so much, kind of like bad news and alarmism about, the AI is going to take over all your jobs, and so they're going to start a nuclear war, and sort of what's the point? And sort of where's the good news? And the point is, this is so much so pretentious and there's so much misinformation and disinformation that we really feel that as responsible academic experts, that somehow we've got to have a weapon to sort of puncture all of this that's going on and say, no, hang on, there's some reality here. Let's think about this a bit. And so the comedy showcase is our way of being able to talk about the sort of the good things and the silly things about AI, and just to hold up a mirror to Silicon Valley and say, aren't they ridiculous? Bill Gates was on American television last year, and he said that in 10 years' time, AI will take over the jobs of teachers. Now, I don't know what sort of school Bill Gates went to, but there ain't no AI who's going to be able to control, sort of class 3, sort of on a Wednesday afternoon, so there are a whole raft of things that the teaching profession has to deal with, and one of them is, sort of classroom behaviour, and other things are, sort of all about understanding children and being able to not just to feed them information.
Yes.
But be able to encourage them to learn, to get over their blockages, to create a safe environment for them. And if you look at so this is what one of my PhD students is doing. If you look at the like 24 different things that the teaching profession say you have to be able to do as a professional teacher, AI can do about 2 of those. Right. And they're like things like preparing, sort of classroom notes, or marking things. But everything else, not a chance. Not a chance. And so the tech bro Silicon Valley is very excited about, we've made a computer play chess. We've made, we've got it to answer this maths question. It's going to take everyone's jobs. I'm sorry, do you know what jobs are like? In a job, you have to be able to negotiate with people and manage, and manage a photocopier that's broken, or a process, sort of trying to sort of reclaim expenses. These things are actually difficult. There is a serious point in this. There's something called the Moravec paradox, which is that computers, AIs, can find it really easy to do things that humans find really difficult. Complicated calculations, writing long and sort of complex reports. But they find it really difficult to do things that humans think is easy, sort of to be able to understand subtext, or to be polite, to walk. When you think about robots, just to be able to walk or to speak is something that's really hard work for an AI. And so the things that our 1-year-olds can do and our 2-year-olds can do, AIs still find incredibly difficult to do.
Yeah. So, do you think that AI can do comedy? Could it write a comedy routine? Could it be funny?
Well, people have tried a lot to get ChatGPT to write comedy, and there are a couple of ways that you can do this. Number one is, if you give it enough comedy material, it could just regurgitate it. It'll basically copy it, and so. But sort of people do that. That's fine. You hear a great joke, someone tells you a great joke, you go and tell other people a great joke. But no one imagines that you somehow originated that joke. That it was yours. It's a shared medium, so that's fine. But the single thing about the way that chatbots like ChatGPT work, large language models, is that they're predicting the next word. What's the most appropriate thing to say here? They've got enormous databases of statistics about what words are used in conjunction with what other words, and so in any particular situation they can always predict for you, the next word to put in the sentence after this one would probably be that one. And it's all down to probability. It's all down to what's the most likely thing that people say, and that is not how jokes work, because a punchline is unexpected.
Yes.
A punchline subverts it. A punchline takes your expectations that you're going to say something about this, and suddenly it goes in a different direction. So that
Jimmy Carr is normally a very good example of this, where he takes you down one road and then all of a sudden you're heading off in a completely different direction.
Absolutely. And so it's that misdirection, is one of those techniques, or exaggeration. You say something that's much more, sort of an intense version. So it's not what you were expecting because it's too much. Or you give an inappropriate comparison. You think one of these, and then something completely different, and you think no, and that's exactly why ChatGPT wouldn't be able to do that, because it's always stuck in what's a first thing, a second thing, and then a third thing that's just like those that people would normally say. You think, no, that's not what you want. You want something completely different.
It wants to be predictable, doesn't it?
It has to be predictable.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Okay.
So, if you want a safe job from AI, become a comedian.
Thank you so much for that, Les. I have no doubt this is going to be an amazing event. This is You, AI and Us from the University of Southampton, and thank you so much for listening.